Thanks for clicking on this Inland Sports video. If you're a local business or an organization and you'd like to promote here on the Inland Sports Show, just send us an email, inlandsportsshow@gmail.com. Now let's talk some high school wrestling, and the Paloma Valley Wildcats are literally all over the place and doing very well. Join us here on the show, the head coach, Luis Robles. And Coach, listen, I love wrestling as much as the next guy, and I know right now Paloma Valley is really finding its spot on the wrestling mat and the map. I think a lot of people are now getting familiar with Paloma Valley and the success that you guys are having for boys and girls. Do you feel like when you go to some of these tournaments, people are saying, oh, yeah, we've heard about Paloma Valley. We know about you guys.
100% that's happening. But the funny part is the first question I always get is, where is Paloma Valley? And then I tell them Menifee, and they're like, okay, where's Menifee?
Well, you know, Temecula Valley's had a ton of success. You just say, like, near Temecula, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yes and no, and that's one of my goals is I don't want to have to keep saying that because I do immediately go, you've heard of Temecula, right? And everybody in wrestling shakes their head, yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, we're just a few minutes north of them. And then I'm like, yeah, and please don't ask me that again.
Well, Coach, you guys are doing some big things. You've been doing some big things for a while, the boys and the girls at Paloma Valley. This past weekend, you guys went to two prestigious tournaments. The boys were up at the Doc Buchanan in Clovis, and you took a group of girls up to a big tournament up in Napa. When you create the schedule, you want your grapplers, you want your wrestlers to see some really good competition, especially if they've got aspirations of maybe bringing home a CIF state title. By design, how do you create the schedule so your teams can see some really good competition throughout the season?
We look at it and we want a variety of competition, right? We don't grind our kids down, so it's not tough competition from beginning to end. We kind of stagger it. So usually, we try to have one lower tier tournament, a bunch of just moderately tough tournament with all of the area toughness. And we try to, as best as we can, do one out of area one. With the Doc B one, it's always hard because you have to literally be accepted into it. And your kids have to meet qualifications. Sometimes they make some wiggle room if you're in the range, which they did for a few of our kids. But you can't just sign up and pay for Doc B. Like, you don't just go, I want to go, and you're in, and every single kid you want to take is in. So, in the past, I have to find other tournaments. Luckily, not counting the COVID shutdown year, we've been able to go to Doc B. Last year, we were shut down individually as a group. But before that, we've taken a couple kids to Doc B, and then this year, Doc B. The girls, it's been hard, and also lucky that Queen of the Hills usually one of the tougher tournaments, and we still attended that one. But I still wanted one out-of-area tournament, especially because I have two returning state placers, so they could get used to the state meet, right? Get away from home, be uncomfortable, have to find somewhere to work out. And it definitely was that. We were in an area. We basically went from an area where our girls know everybody and I know every coach to maybe we knew like 1% of the gym. Like, we didn't know anybody there.
And like you said, it's good to be in that situation. It's good to be a little uncomfortable and go up against wrestlers you've never heard of and schools you've never heard of, and and just lay it out all on the mat. For the boys, at least, you go to the Doc B, like you mentioned. Is that as close to a state preview as you guys will probably see this season before you get to maybe, I don't know, like the Masters meet in the Southern section?
Any of my kids that are going to be blessed and have earned a chance to get to the state meet, Doc B was tougher than the state meet. I know some people will argue it. This was the toughest Doc B probably they've ever had. And I want to say they said it was 25 states were represented.
Oh my God.
So there were guys that were ranked in the top 5 in the state that lost early in the tournament. So this tournament was tougher than state. So I don't even know how to compare it because we don't go to national level tournaments. There's no sanctioned national events. There's some off-season stuff, USA Wrestling stuff, but this was tougher than the California State meet. So it definitely will prepare us to, number one, qualify, because the Southern section is what wrestling coaches call the meat grinder. So we need it just to learn how to qualify for state. And then when we get there, we'll be ready. I think we'll be ready after going to Doc B.
The success you've had for the boys and the girls at the CIF Southern section level, does that kind of change the mindset and the goals going into this year in terms of, we've been here, Let's try to get back there individually. Let's see what you guys can do. If you can get to Bakersfield and place and get on that podium. Does the mindset, the goals change this year? Does it feel a little different?
I mean, to be honest, no, just because ever since I started here, that's always what we talk about. We say everything is about league, CIF, Master State. Everything else is just practice towards it. Obviously, it's part of your record. It matters. But we work, kind of like the March Madness mentality. Like for us, it's all about February. It used to be March, but now it ends a little bit before March 1st. So for us, we're literally only working for that. It's just become more real now. When I first got here, we actually were the first year I was here, we sent the kid to state. And then we had a drought of, I want to say, almost 4 or 5 years. And now we've been there regularly. So now it is a little more expected, but we never take it for granted because we are in such a tough section. So it doesn't change. We really have always set that goal. I would just say our kids are earning that goal a lot more often now.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach, not to bring up Temecula again, but I'm going to bring up Temecula again. I think the boys are down there this weekend, right, on Saturday?
Yep. Yeah, we are at Battle for the Belt at Temecula. It's fine. I love, Alpert and Campbell retired from full-time roles. Campbell's still down there. Their coach that took over, DeCaro, he's a great guy. I remember him when I used to coach at Paris. He was a wrestler at Temecula. So, I love them. Hence why we're going to the tournament. They put on a good tournament, and they put on great competition, and they're good buddies of mine, and I enjoy seeing them. So, yeah, we'll be at Battle for the Belt this weekend with the boys Friday and Saturday.
Coach, does it feel like once you get into the new year, like once you get past Christmas and the new year starts, like the wrestling season, it just accelerates? Like all of a sudden, like it's going to be February and you're already thinking about, like you said, Masters and, who might be a state qualifier. Like, does it feel like you guys just step on the gas here in January?
100%. We literally just had a practice where I had to remind the kids, like, there's not much time left. And the one thing about wrestling that, can be hard on kids, but I think I love is it's a unique timeline, right? When you coach football and everything, everybody's season ends at the exact same time. But when you're talking about wrestling, some of my kids' seasons are going to end next Friday when we wrestle our last league meet. For others, it'll be CIF duels. It might be league finals. We hope not. We're going to have a goal to qualify everybody through league. But it kind of dwindles down, right? Everybody's season slowly starts ending. And I had to remind them of that because sometimes these kids, take it for granted. And I had to remind them of what the timeline is. And it is definitely time right now. Like it's, for some kids, their season's ending in 2 weeks. For some of them, 4 weeks. I want to say states in about 5 to 6 weeks.
And Coach, with the boys and the girls, how do you manage, it's a long season, it's a grueling season. For you guys, there's a lot of travel involved as well. How do you feel like you're still getting them better and getting them ready for, the CIF Southern Section, championship run and the Masters and state, but with not running them into the ground? I think you already mentioned it too. Like, how do you kind of negotiate that, wanting them to continue to improve and get better, but still not wearing them out because it is a long season?
I think the biggest part with coaching is adjusting, having a plan and adjusting. We have a plan where we actually make practices shorter as the year goes on. When we started, especially with the whole, school starting later change, we were running practice till 6:30, sometimes 6:45. Our goal now is to be out of the room by 6 o'clock on most days. On some days, I'll tell them up front, like, hey, Thursday we're getting out, at 5:30. So we're shortening practices up. But it doesn't necessarily mean easier. I tell the kids all the time, shorter practice does not always mean easier. It's just we have everything we need in. So, we're just kind of running through everything we need, getting what we need, and getting out, getting the rest in recovery. So a lot of it's adapting. We adapt every day. I always tell the coaches, read the room, because there's times I can't be at practice. I might have to go to a seating meeting or whatever. And I tell the coaches, hey, if you got practice today, read the room, because they'll ask me, okay, what do you want today? I'm like, I want this, this, and this. Or I'll just tell them, because a lot of my coaches are very good. I just tell them, you got today, just make sure you read the room, So we kind of take it day by day, week by week. But we do have a master plan. And the master plan is start with long practices and then shorten them up as the year progresses.
Taper them off. That sounds like a great plan. That's why you're the head coach, and you're a very smart man. That is Luis Robles, the head wrestling coach at Paloma Valley, and also rejoining that football team at Paloma Valley, as well as my boy, Coach Morita. So, Coach Robles,
Yep.
really appreciate the time. If you guys win CIF, you got state qualifiers, man. I'd love to have you guys in studio, and let's do this again.
Oh, I'll be back for sure. We're hoping to win the CIF title on boys and girls this year.
That is awesome. Coach Robles, really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right, that's Luis Robles from Paloma Valley here on the Inland Sports Show. Inland Sports.